This is an overview of GBV IMS Plus. Let's start with why this is something that we even talk about at all. Why do we collect information in case management? We document cases for many reasons. We recognize that you as caseworkers see many survivors. It's not natural to remember everything that happened to someone. It's why doctors keep notes and therapists. We have to be able to stay up to date on our cases, and that means having the ability to jog your memory and avoid asking repeat questions. Maybe the client said she has legal needs but doesn't want to pursue them now, but you can come back to that topic later when and if she's ready, and having notes will help you do that. We have to ensure continuity of services. If you go on leave or are sick or leave the organization, another caseworker needs to be able to understand what's going on with the survivor to continue the services. Third, the survivor is an instrumental part of this process. If you're working with her over a long period of time, your case file can act as a record of progress, so you can look back and see a record of change. The case files are another way to look at quality of care. A supervisor can learn a lot about services being provided and the quality of them by reviewing a case file. And finally, the last reason is that we want to know if we're doing the right thing. We want to understand our services in real time, and collecting day-to-day information about what we call service-based information is a continuous, low-cost way to do this. Now, we know why we collect it, but what about the information management process from collection to storage to sharing makes your life easier or more difficult? You can take this time to discuss in your group. So how did we get to where we are now? This process started in 2006 with the development of the core tools of the system, and over the last 10 years, these have been broadly adopted by various INGOs and UN agencies in various settings. In 2013, we decided to engage with child protection actors to find a way to collaborate on our shared needs and developed a shared platform that would also allow us to have additional functionality like case management. And that's what at the end of the timeline, Primero. This is the protection-related information management system. It's an application developed to enable humanitarian actors to safely and securely collect, store, manage, and share data for protection-related incident monitoring and case management. The system was developed by IRC, UNICEF, Save the Children, UNFPA, IMC, and TDH. This platform has individual modules for gender-based violence and child protection. Each of these modules is built off the interagency field-tested legacy systems, the GBV IMS and the CP-IMS. For each of these systems, Primero is the next-generation version of the database. The two modules of Primero, GBV and child protection, can be deployed individually or together. We use the analogy of a house. GBV IMS is one room, CP-IMS Plus is another room. Because they're built on the same platform, it's possible for the systems to communicate, and users can also stay in their module and not use the other modules. Let's focus on GBV IMS Plus, the module that hosts incident monitoring and case management information for survivors of gender-based violence. The GBV IMS Plus, in simple terms, is a database. It's one module of Primero that holds information about GBV survivors and the care they receive. It's an enhancement of the current incident recorder of the GBV IMS because it has an added function for case management. Let's highlight a few features of the system. Our goal in developing GBV IMS Plus was to create a survivor-centered system that utilizes technology enhancements to manage individual cases and services for survivors, as well as aggregate incident monitoring. So having case management tracking in the system, in addition to incident monitoring, is the most noticeable feature of the system for GBV service providers. But there are several others to note as well. GBV IMS Plus is flexible and adaptable. It can accommodate different program structures and can be customized to each setting. It can accommodate different languages. If data is hosted on the cloud, it can eliminate the need to compile data internally in your organization. One of the most beneficial features is role-based access. This means casework staff can see only their cases, a supervisor can see only the cases of their direct reports, and a coordinator sees only aggregate information. This best responds to the principle of need to know. And finally, Primero features heightened security. This was a crucial part of the development of this system. Primero is built on a secure framework, and before it was even field tested, had threat tests conducted. I want to talk a bit more about access protections, which we call role-based access. This is an approach to restricting access to the system to unauthorized users. It means caseworkers can see their own cases. Supervisors can see the cases of their direct reports. focal points can see all cases, and coordinators can see all cases. However, the permissions are different too. Caseworkers can see their own cases and no one else's. Supervisors cannot edit or create cases. This helps maintain the integrity of the data. Focal points cannot edit the cases either. They can view more cases than anyone because of their role in data quality and troubleshooting. And coordinators can see all cases, but only in an aggregate sense. They can export information and see aggregate statistics for reporting. Another enhancement we've made is to update GBV IMS Plus by utilizing technological advancements. By that, I mean we wanted to be able to accommodate users in different types of settings. Those in traditional static offices, as well as those working in remote, mobile, or settings that have low connectivity. So we have two ways you can use the system. The web version, which requires an internet-connected computer to use and has the highest functionality. And also we have a version for data entry that can work on a mobile device like a smartphone or tablet. This works entirely offline, and then you can sync when you get to a place that has secure internet. It's just for data entry, so it's missing some of the bells and whistles of the web version, but it's well liked by users. If you've been using the traditional GBV IMS and are interested in using GBV IMS Plus, what does this mean for you? Don't worry, it doesn't mean you're starting over from scratch. So what will stay the same? The good news is a lot. If you're already using the GBV IMS, you have a leg up. The core tools of the system remain the same for the most part. The intake and consent form, classification tool, and ISP will remain unchanged. However, the flow of data and the use of the incident recorder will change, but even that tool will remain in use. The primary change will be in data entry. Instead of entering information from the intake form into the incident recorder, information will be entered into GBV IMS Plus. The information entered by casework staff into GBV IMS Plus will eventually be exported into the incident recorder for analysis and interagency data sharing. So we've talked in a high-level way about functions and features, and you're probably wondering now, what's this going to cost me? What do I need to do to be able to roll out the system? For organizations providing services to GBV survivors, several things are needed. First, your organization needs to be providing services to GBV survivors. The platform is most relevant for those providing case management services, but could also be used by psychosocial and potentially health actors. Second, you'll need hardware. Depending on your setting, at least computers and maybe mobile devices. Ideally, you'll have staff familiar with web-based navigation. You should have access to internet connection, at least from time to time, to be able to sync the mobile device to the web application. Human resources. You'll need caseworkers, supervisors, and IT people, though the latter doesn't have to be dedicated. Finally, you'll need an organizational commitment to implement GBV IMS Plus. It's important that senior management within your organization signs off on the rollout of the new IMS system such as GBV IMS Plus. Similarly to the GBV IMS rollout, the GBV IMS Plus rollout is divided into 4 phases: assessment, planning, implementation, and maintenance. In phase 1, you will have to demonstrate that you have the required resources to roll out GBV IMS Plus. The assessment tool we can share looks at your capacity both in terms of information management and GBV case management. The assessment will also determine key technical and logistical aspects linked to the context, from case management practices to internet connectivity issues. Once the assessment is completed, you can share this with the GBV IMS technical team for endorsement. In phase 2, this phase includes identifying a focal point who will be the focal person for the maintenance of the GBV IMS Plus platform in country. In addition, during this phase, data gathering organizations will need to map information flow, users, sites, and supervision lines. This will inform the creation of users for each data gathering organization according to their role, as well as consideration linked to the use of mobile phones if connectivity is an issue. Finally, your global team member will draft and share with you an implementation plan that will be a blueprint of the rollout of GBV IMS Plus in your specific country. In phase 3, as part of the implementation phase, staff should be trained on the GBV IMS Plus by a certified trainer. This process will usually be done directly by the GBV IMS global team during an in-country mission. In parallel, the platform will be deployed. Phase 4, the maintenance phase, is the longest phase. During this period, ongoing training and coaching of staff should take place in order to maintain the skills on the use of the GBV IMS Plus. The focal point will have to check the data for quality and can also start to do analysis of the data. The overall rollout of GBV IMS Plus can take between 2 to 6 or more months, depending on whether resources are there for the rollout to happen. There are a lot of ways you can use the wealth of data that you'll get from the GBV IMS Plus, and we want to encourage this as much as possible. First, and perhaps easiest, you can use the pulse. This is a set of measurable values that demonstrate how effectively we are at achieving key case management objectives. Second, you can export the data to the incident recorder and do analysis and interagency sharing, as you always have. Third, focal points, managers, and supervisors can do a custom export of data, meaning they can export single or multiple fields from one or different forms or entire forms for review and analysis. This can aid in case file review and data quality checks or broader analysis. And fourth, the system has some reporting capability built in as well. These are just a few of the case management objectives you'll find in the Pulse section. So what else is new with this system? To make this system follow more closely the ideal for quality case management, we've also built in components to the system to support supervision. So how does GBV IMS Plus aid in supervision? There are 3 key ways: through the action plan and case closure approvals, case file reviews, and a communication function called flagging. First, you can use the approvals feature, in which a caseworker can ask for approval on an action plan or case closure for review and feedback from their supervisor. This is not a required function for you to use in the system. You'll have to decide if and how you want to use it. For example, you could use it with high-risk cases. Another way the system supports supervision is through case file review. Supervisors can set up a schedule in which they randomly select a set number of files to review from each caseworker or from a few caseworkers. They can access the file in the system of their direct reports. They can compile findings from case file reviews that can be discussed individually or, if anonymized, in group supervision sessions. Finally, there's a communication function in the system called flags. This means you can add a flag to a case and insert a reason. A caseworker can then review that, respond, and it can be cleared.